the dragon, and the maple leaf. Why Mark Carney went to Beijing and what it means for Canadians. Hello everyone, and welcome back. If you've been following the news this week, you've seen the headlines. Prime Minister Mark Carney is in China. And if you're wondering, wait, didn't we have a massive diplomatic freeze with China? Or isn't the US our best friend? You are asking exactly the right questions. This week, we are breaking down one of the most high-stakes geopolitical gambles in recent Canadian history. We're going to look at why Mark Carney went to Beijing, what they are actually talking about behind closed doors, and, most importantly, how China is reacting to this new Canada. Here is the situation in plain English. Canada is caught between a rock and a hard place. The rock is our neighbor to the south. With President Trump back in the White House and pushing what analysts are calling the Don Road Doctrine, essentially a policy of America first and America only in the Western Hemisphere, Canada is facing heavy tariffs and economic pressure. The hard place. That's China, a superpower we've been at odds with for years over hostages, spy balloons, and interference. But this week, Mark Carney decided that the rock was getting a little too heavy. He flew to Beijing to attempt something his predecessors couldn't manage, a pragmatic reset. Let's dive into what's happening. 1. The visit. No red carpets. Just business. First, let's talk about the vibe of the visit. If you remember Justin Trudeau's visit to China back in 2016, it was all about golden eras and heavy fanfare. Carney's visit is different. It is quieter. It is businesslike. The Chinese media reaction is fascinating. Instead of front-page celebrations, the coverage was cautious. State media outlets like Xinhua gave it modest attention, what some analysts called small potatoes compared to the past. But don't let the lack of fireworks fool you. In the world of diplomacy, boring often means serious. Carney met with Premier Li Cheng first and will meet with President Xi Jinping at the end of his visit. The headline coming out of Beijing isn't about friendship or shared values. It is about necessity. The Chinese leadership described Carney as a pragmatist. They like him because he's an economist by trade. He speaks the language of money, not just morals. For Beijing, this visit wasn't about Canada suddenly loving China. It was about Canada needing options. And China loves being the option. 2. The agenda, canola, EVs, and the Don Road Doctrine. So, what did they actually discuss? It comes down to 3 main things: trade, tariffs, and Trump. 1. The trade war swap right now. Canadian farmers are hurting. China slapped massive tariffs on Canadian canola, pork, and seafood. Why? Because Canada put a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles EVs last year, following the US lead. Carney went there to make a deal. The expectation is a quid pro quo. Basically, I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine. Carney is trying to get those agricultural bans lifted. In exchange, Beijing wants Canada to ease up on those EV tariffs, or at least stop following American instructions so closely. 2. Reliance to resilience. This is Carney's new slogan. He told the Chinese leaders that Canada wants to diversify. In plain English, we are too dependent on the US. Currently, over 75% of our exports go to the US. Carney wants to double our non-US trade. He pitched Canada as a reliable supplier of energy, LNG, and oil and critical minerals, things China desperately needs for its economy. 3. The geopolitical wedge. This is the most critical part. China sees this visit as a massive strategic win. Why? Because it drives a wedge between Canada and the United States. By welcoming Carney, Beijing is signaling to the world, look, even America's closest neighbor is tired of American bullying. They are using Canada to prove that the US-America first policy is isolating Washington. 3. The risks, walking on eggshells. Now, this isn't all sunshine and trade deals. This visit is incredibly risky for Carney at home. While he is shaking hands in Beijing, critics back in Canada are screaming about foreign interference and human rights. Remember, we have had years of reports about Chinese interference in Canadian elections. Carney had to walk a very fine line. He reportedly raised these issues, bringing up the safety of Canadians and interference, but he did it behind closed doors. The Chinese reaction to this: they essentially brushed it off. Their official statements focused entirely on mutual respect and managing differences. Translation: we will trade with you, but don't lecture us. The danger for Carney is that if he comes back with nothing but empty promises, he looks weak. If he comes back with too much, he looks like he's selling out to a rival power just to spite the Americans. The verdict. So, what is the verdict? Mark Carney's visit to China looks like a move born out of desperation and calculation. It is a business trip in the coldest sense of the word. The Chinese reaction was welcoming but cynical. They see a Canada that is vulnerable and looking for a lifeline. They are happy to provide it, but it might come at a price. Expect to see some movement on canola and pork in the coming weeks. But keep your eye on the U.S. reaction. The Dunro Doctrine doesn't take kindly to neighbors looking elsewhere for friends. Carney has placed his bet on the table. Now we have to wait and see if the wheel spins in his favor. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more analysis. See you next time.